The ground was dry and cracked, but her fingers pushed through anyway. She dug with her nails, tearing small clumps loose until something metal scraped beneath. She pulled it free and held it up to the fading light. A button, rusted and worn, dark edges crusted with soil. She turned it in her palm, dirt streaking across her skin. Behind her, the aunt's voice came sharp. "Drop it." The niece didn't move. "It's just a button. Number not that one." The girl brushed more dirt off. The round face of the button caught the evening. "What's wrong with it?" The aunt stepped closer, her voice low now. "It belonged to the day he left her." The niece looked up. "Who?" "You know who." The girl shook her head. "I don't." "You do." The aunt's hands trembled against her dress. "You just want me to say it out loud." The niece closed her fingers around the button. "Maybe I do." The aunt's shadow fell over her. "Put it back where you found it." The girl stood, dirt streaked across her knees. "Why?" "Because some things don't need digging up." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one you'll get." The girl's eyes narrowed. "So it's true. He's real." The aunt's jaw clenched. "He was never real for you." "But for her?" The aunt looked away, toward the old fence line sagging into the field. "For her, he was everything. And then he was gone. That button's the only piece left." The girl rolled it between her fingers. "And you buried it." "It buried itself." "No," the niece said. "You buried it, just like you buried her." The aunt's face tightened. "Watch your mouth. You're scared of it." "I'm scared of nothing." "Then tell me his name." The aunt's silence pressed heavier than any words. The cicadas rattled in the trees, but neither of them moved. The girl took a step closer. "Tell me his name." The aunt's voice broke. "Don't ask me that." "Why not?" "Because saying it brings him back." The girl almost smiled, bitter. "Isn't that the point?" The aunt grabbed her wrist, fingers hard on her skin. "You don't know what you're doing." "I know enough." She yanked free, the button still tight in her hand. "This means he left something behind, something more than silence." The aunt's breath shook. "He left nothing but ruin." The girl stared down at the button. "Then why keep it?" "I didn't keep it. The ground did." "You knew it was here." The aunt swallowed. "I tried to forget." "But you couldn't." The aunt's eyes went wet. "Neither will you now." The girl closed her fist. "Good." "Don't say that." "I mean it. Good is not what comes from him." "Then bad." "I'll take bad. Anything's better than the quiet you live in." The aunt's hands shook harder. "Quiet keeps you alive." "Alive isn't enough." They stood in the fading light, air heavy between them. The girl spoke again, softer. "So she lost him here?" "Yes." "And you watched." The aunt nodded once, barely. "Why didn't you stop it?" Her voice cracked. "You think I didn't try?" The girl studied her face. "You didn't try hard enough." The aunt slapped her then. Quick, sharp, not full of hate, but fear. The sound carried across the field. The girl's cheek burned, but she didn't move. Slowly, she lifted her hand, opened her palm, and showed the button still resting there. The aunt stared, eyes wide. "You should have dropped it." "No." "You don't know what it means." "I know it's proof." "It's a curse." "It's a story." "Same thing," the aunt said. The girl closed her fist again, harder this time. "I'm not letting it go." The aunt's breath came in ragged pulls. "Then it'll follow you." "Let it. You'll regret it." "Not as much as you do." The aunt turned from her, hands pressed to her face, body shaking. The girl watched her, silent now, the button digging into her palm like a nail. She felt the edge of it cutting, rust biting into her skin. She didn't loosen her grip. The aunt whispered through her hands, "You'll bring him back." The girl whispered back, "Maybe that's what she wanted." The aunt shook her head. "No one wants the dead back." The girl's eyes hardened. "She did." The aunt lowered her hands, eyes red, voice trembling. "You'll destroy us." The girl stepped closer again, holding the button up between them. "Or I'll finally tell the truth." The aunt's voice went hollow. "Truth is worse than lies." The girl smiled faintly, cruel and tired. "We'll see." They stood in silence, both staring at the small piece of metal, both trapped in what it meant. The cicadas fell quiet. The air turned still. Somewhere, far off, a dog barked once and stopped. The girl closed her hand again. "I'm keeping it." The ant shook her head slowly. Then nothing will ever leave you. Good, the girl said. The ant whispered one last time, almost a prayer. You don't know what you've done. The girl tucked the button into her pocket, dirt still clinging to its edges. She turned from her aunt and walked toward the sagging house at the edge of the field. Her aunt stayed where she was, frozen, eyes on the ground the button had come from, as if waiting for something else to rise. The girl didn't look back. Her hand pressed against her pocket, making sure the button was still there. She wouldn't drop it. She wouldn't let it go. She walked until the light faded, and the house swallowed her whole. The niece pushed the door open with her shoulder. Hinges cried, wood groaned, air stale with dust and damp. She stepped inside, hand brushing her pocket to feel the button still. There. The house breathed slow, every board watching her. Her aunt came in close behind. Don't go in here. The girl didn't look back. It's ours. It was hers, that's not the same. The girl's shoes scuffed across the warped floor. You kept it standing. I should have let it fall. You couldn't. The aunt's eyes traced the walls. Because I'm a fool. The girl ran her fingers along a shelf layered in dust. You lived here. No one lived here. The aunt snapped. You did. I survived here. That's different. The girl stopped in the middle of the room. A cracked chair sat alone in the corner, fabric torn open, stuffing spilling. She sat there, didn't she? The aunt's throat worked. Don't ask me. I'm not asking. I know. The aunt pulled her shawl tighter. You know nothing. I know you won't stop following me, because I know what happens if you keep digging. The girl's hand tightened around the button in her pocket. You keep saying that. You never say what it is. It's ruin. Then let me see it. The aunt's voice rose. You think truth is clean? You think it saves? It rots, same as the rest. The girl turned on her. Then why are you still here? The aunt faltered. Because leaving doesn't change what you carry. The girl looked up the staircase. Shadows stretched long, rail cracked, carpet eaten by time. Something still in this house. The aunt shook her head. Only ghosts of our own making. They don't creak. The aunt froze. What? The girl tilted her head. I heard it. You didn't. The girl started toward the stairs. Stop, the aunt said, voice sharp. The girl kept walking. You're shaking. Because I know better. Then tell me what's up there. Nothing. Then you won't mind if I look. The aunt caught her arm. Don't. The girl yanked free. You can't keep me out. You're not strong enough for it. The girl laughed once, bitter. Stronger than you, at least. The aunt's eyes filled, but she held her ground. You don't understand what broke in these walls. Then make me understand. The aunt whispered. It's better not knowing. The girl climbed the first step. The wood shrieked. Dust rose into the air. The aunt whispered again, weaker. Don't. The girl's hand slid along the banister, splinters biting her palm. If he left something behind. The aunt's voice cracked. Only pain. That's still something. The girl took another step. Another groan from the boards, louder this time. The aunt flinched. You hear it too. The girl said, It's the house settling. It's been settled for years. The aunt gripped the wall as if it would hold her up. Please. The girl looked down at her. You're scared like a child. The aunt's lips pressed tight. The girl climbed higher. What happened up here? The aunt muttered. You won't stop until you've ruined us both. Maybe that's what you deserve. The aunt's breath caught. You sound just like her. The girl paused. Like who? The aunt's eyes went distant. Your mother. The girl gripped the rail harder. She wanted answers too. And look where it left her. The girl's voice sharpened. Where did it leave her? The aunt shut her eyes. Gone. The girl's jaw locked. She turned back to the stairs, climbed another step. The house answered with a long creak above, not beneath her, but over her head. Both of them froze. The girl whispered, That wasn't me. The aunt's face drained. It's nothing. The sound came again, a shift of weight, boards moving. The girl whispered, Someone's here. No. Yes. The aunt's hands shook. No one comes here. Then it's him. Don't say that. It is. The aunt's voice dropped to a plea. Please. The girl's eyes fixed on the top of the stairs, shadows bent against the hallway ceiling, swaying faint like breath. The aunt whispered, Turn back. The girl's hand slid into her pocket, pressing the button deep into her palm. She felt its cold edge cutting her skin. "I'm not turning back," she said. The ant shook her head, whisper sharp, "You'll bring it all down." The girl stepped again. The floor above gave a deeper groan, as if weight shifted from one side to the other. The ant staggered against the wall. "He's gone." "He's not," the girl said. The silence that followed stretched until it felt unbearable. Then another creak sounded above, louder this time, straight overhead. The girl whispered, "He's waiting." The aunt whispered back, "No, he's gone. He's gone." But the sound kept on, slow and deliberate, as if footsteps dragged across the boards above them. The girl gripped the button tighter. She didn't move. Neither did the ant. The creak came again. The sound lingered overhead, slow and dragging. The niece lifted her head, hand tight in her pocket, the button cutting into her palm. She whispered, "That's not the house." The aunt's reply came fast, too fast. "It is. Wood swells. Boards shift. That's all." "You don't believe that?" "Yes, I do." "You don't. Your voice is shaking." The aunt snapped back, "Because you're making me say things I swore I never would." The niece stepped up one more stair. The wood shrieked under her weight. "Then say them." "There's nothing to say." "There's everything to say." The aunt's hand clutched the rail. "Stop this now." The girl's eyes narrowed. "Not until you tell me who's up there." "No one." "Then why won't you go?" "First?" The aunt froze. "Exactly," the girl said. The sound above them came again. A slow, heavy drag. Then silence. The girl whispered, "It's waiting." The aunt hissed, "It's nothing. You said that already." And it's still true. The girl took another step. Dust rose, filling the air between them. "If you're so sure, follow me." The aunt hesitated. "I can't." "You mean you won't?" "Same thing." "No," the girl said. "It's not." The aunt's voice broke into a whisper. "Please, don't climb higher." The girl didn't stop. She moved up slow, each board protesting. "If you won't go, I will." "Why can't you leave it alone?" "Because you already did. Look where that got you." The aunt flinched as if struck. "You think you know better? You're a child." The girl turned her head back. "And you're a coward." The aunt's eyes filled, but she followed, shaky step after shaky step, pulled forward despite herself. Together they climbed stair by stair. The niece's knuckles whitened around the button in her fist. The aunt's breath rasped behind her. Halfway up, the girl stopped. "Listen." They held still. Silence pressed close, thick and suffocating. Then came the creak again, heavier this time, as though something had shifted just beyond their sight. The girl said, "That's not wood. That's weight." The aunt's whisper cracked. "Don't say that. I'll keep saying it until you admit the truth." "There is no truth left." "There's always truth." "Then it's poison." The girl took another step. "I'll drink it." The aunt muttered, "And choke." Better than silence. They reached the landing. The hall stretched dark, doors shut tight, air colder than below. The girl whispered, "Which one?" The aunt shook her head. "None." "Which one?" The aunt's hand trembled as she lifted it. She pointed at the last door on the left. The girl's chest rose and fell quick. "That one." "Yes." "Why?" "Because that's where she waited for him." The girl's breath caught. "Her room." The aunt nodded once. The girl stepped toward it. Her hand brushed the wall, dust thick against her skin. The aunt said, "Don't open it." "Why not?" "Because he never left that room." The girl stopped. "What do you mean?" The aunt's voice cracked. "I mean he walked in, and the next morning he was gone, and she sat there holding nothing but that button. And after that, silence." The girl's grip on the button tightened. "So he did exist." The aunt whispered, "Don't make me say it." "You just did." The house answered with a slam. The door at the end of the hall shut hard on its own, shaking the frame, dust spilling down like ash. Both of them jumped. The girl whispered, "You saw that." The aunt's eyes were wide. "The wind, there's no wind." "There has to be." The girl's voice dropped. "He's still here." The aunt shook her head violently. "No." "Yes." The aunt's voice broke into a sob. "Don't say that." "He's still here." The aunt grabbed her arm. "Stop." The girl tore free, stepping toward the door. "You can't stop me." The aunt's body sagged against the wall. "You'll destroy yourself." The girl whispered, Maybe that's the only way to know. They stared at the door at the end of the hall, both shaking, both trapped between terror and memory. The silence stretched. Then faint from behind the door came a sound like a breath. The girl froze. Her aunt pressed her hand to her mouth, trying not to scream. The breath came again, low and slow, followed by a whisper they couldn't make out. The girl stepped forward. "He's still here." A knock rattled the front door, sharp and heavy, shaking dust from the frame. The niece froze, button still clenched in her hand. The aunt's breath caught, face pale. The knock came again. "Open up." The aunt whispered, "It's him." The girl didn't move. The voice outside barked louder. "I know you're in there. Don't make me kick it in." The aunt rushed forward, hands shaking, and unlatched the door. It swung wide, revealing the sheriff framed in the fading light, broad shoulders and a worn coat, badge catching the glow. His eyes swept the room, hard as nails. He stepped inside without asking. "Heard talk you two been stirring things up." The aunt shook her head quickly. "We haven't." The niece stepped forward. "Who told you that?" "Doesn't matter," the sheriff said. "What matters is you stop." "Stop what?" the girl asked. "Digging." The girl smiled cold. "You afraid of dirt?" His eyes narrowed. "Afraid of fools who don't know when to quit." The aunt whispered, "Please, she doesn't understand." The girl shot her a look. "I understand enough." The sheriff turned on her. "You don't know what's buried here." "That's why I'm looking," she said. His jaw flexed. "You don't want to find it." "Why not?" "Because some ghosts stay dead if you let them." The girl pulled the button from her pocket and set it on the table between them. This one didn't. The sheriff's eyes flicked down. His face tightened. "Where'd you get that?" The aunt's voice shook. "It was nothing, just a piece of junk in the dirt." The girl cut in. "It's proof." "Of what?" the sheriff asked. "That he was real." The room fell heavy. The aunt's hands twisted in her dress. The sheriff leaned closer, his shadow stretching over the table. "You don't speak his name. Not in this house, not anywhere." The girl stared back. "Then why are you here?" His nostrils flared. "To make sure you don't drag the past through town like it's fresh meat." The aunt whispered, "She's young." "She doesn't mean it." "I mean every word," the girl said. The sheriff's gaze locked on her. "You got her mouth." The aunt stepped forward quickly. "Don't." The sheriff's lips curled into something near a smile, but colder. "I remember her. Always pushing, always talking. And where'd it get her?" The girl's fists tightened. "Tell me." The aunt cried, "No!" The sheriff looked between them. "Funny, isn't it? Silence kept one of you alive. Noise buried the other." The girl didn't flinch. "Maybe noise is what's needed now." The sheriff leaned in close. "Keep talking and I'll show you what silence feels like." The aunt grabbed his sleeve. "Please stop." He shook her off, eyes still on the girl. "You think you're tougher than the rest. You're not. I'll bury you deeper than that button." The girl's voice cut through steady. "Then you admit it." He froze. "Admit what?" "That you put him there." The room stilled. The aunt gasped. The sheriff's face darkened. "Careful." The girl didn't blink. "You said it yourself. Buried. You chose that word." His hand twitched near his belt. "I said nothing." "You said enough." The aunt stepped between them, shaking. "Stop this, please. Both of you." The sheriff growled, "Move aside." She didn't. The girl picked up the button, holding it tight again. "He left something behind. You can't cover it forever." The sheriff's voice dropped low. "Watch me." The aunt's knees bent as if her strength was draining. "Please, I can't lose her too." The sheriff's eyes flicked to her, then back to the girl. "Then keep her mouth shut." The girl's lips curved into a bitter smile. "No one's shutting me up." The sheriff leaned closer until their faces almost touched. "Then you're asking for what's coming." The girl whispered, "Maybe I am." The air pressed heavy, silence so thick it seemed to choke the room. Dust drifted from the rafters, settling onto the table between them. The aunt whispered, voice breaking, "Stop. I'm begging you." Neither moved. The sheriff straightened at last, his glare cutting sharp. "You'll regret this." The girl said, "Not as much as you will." He studied her, jaw tight, then turned toward the door. His boots struck the floor hard, echoing through the house. At the doorway, he paused. "Leave it buried." The girl lifted the button in her fist. "Too late." His eyes narrowed, but he didn't answer. He stepped out into the fading light, shutting the door behind him with a slam. The ant sank into the cracked chair, face pale as ash. The girl stayed standing, button clutched, eyes locked on the closed door. The house seemed to groan again. The sound from upstairs, faint but steady. The ant whispered, "You don't know what you've started." The girl whispered back, "Yes, I do." The sound above deepened, boards shifting as if weight dragged across them once more. Both of them looked up, breath held. The button burned in her palm. The sheriff was halfway down the path when the niece shoved the door open and stormed after him. "You don't get to walk away." He turned, shoulders squared. "Girl, go back inside." "No." She marched up, button clutched in her fist. "You're coming with me." He scowled. "Where?" She jerked her head toward the field. "The well." His eyes hardened. "Absolutely not." "You're afraid," she said. He stepped closer, voice sharp. "I'm not afraid of anything in this dirt." "Then prove it." Behind them, the ant's voice trembled. "Please don't." The niece snapped. "Stay out of this." The ant shook her head. "That well has nothing but rot." The girl turned back to the sheriff. "Then he won't mind looking." The sheriff's jaw tightened. "You don't know what you're asking." "Yes, I do." He stared at her, silence stretching, then cursed under his breath. "Fine, but when you see nothing, you'll shut your mouth." "I'll shut it when I'm ready." The ant whispered, "Don't drag him there." The girl started walking, not waiting for an answer. "Come on." The sheriff muttered but followed, boots striking the ground hard. The ant trailed behind, steps faltering, face pale as she clutched her shawl tighter. They crossed the brittle grass, the house shrinking behind them. The well sat low in the field, stone rim crumbling, wood cover half broken, weeds grown high around it. The niece stopped at its edge. "Open it." The sheriff folded his arms. "You do it." "You're the one who swore it was empty." His voice was cold. "Empty doesn't need proving." She bent and shoved the cover aside. Rusted hinges shrieked, the sound carrying into the trees. The dark mouth of the well gaped before them. The ant gasped. "Close it back." The girl ignored her. She peered down into the black. "Say it's nothing now." The sheriff's jaw worked. "It's a hole. That's all." "Then look," she said. He didn't move. "Scared after all," she said. He glared. "Watch yourself." The girl picked up a stone from the grass and held it out. "Drop it. If it's only a hole, prove it." He didn't reach for it. She tossed it to him anyway. He caught it reflexively, knuckles white. "Go on," she said. The ant whispered, "Please, don't." The sheriff stared at the rock, then at the girl. Finally, he dropped it. The stone clattered against the side as it fell, echoing down, long, deep, until at last a dull splash came from below. The ant's face crumpled. "Enough." The girl leaned closer. "Hear that? Something's down there." "It's water," the sheriff snapped. "No," she said softly. "It was deeper than water. Something else moved with it." "You're imagining." She shook her head. "I'm not." The sheriff turned away. "We're done." She grabbed his arm. "Not yet." He yanked free, eyes blazing. "You touch me again, and—" "You'll what?" She cut in. "Throw me in too." The ant cried out, "Stop it!" The girl faced him square. "You already put him here, didn't you?" His face went dark. "Careful." "That's where he went," she said, voice steady. The ant sobbed. "Don't say it." The sheriff stepped close, towering over her. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know enough." She lifted the button in her hand, held it up like proof. "He wore this the night you came for him." His stare locked on the button. His lips tightened, but he said nothing. The girl whispered, "You buried him where no one would find him." The ant shook her head violently. Numbers stopped. The girl pressed on. "But you didn't bury him deep enough. The well won't keep quiet." The sheriff's hands curled into fists. "One more word and I'll—" A sound drifted up from the black. A faint clink, metal on stone. Then another, as if something small had fallen inside. The three of them froze. The niece whispered, "Did you hear that?" The sheriff's breath hitched. The sound echoed again, lighter this time, like a button slipping down and bouncing off the walls before vanishing. The girl's hand flew to her pocket. The button was still there, pressed tight against her palm. She held it up, trembling. Her voice cracked into a whisper. "That's where he went." The ant sank to her knees, covering her ears. The sheriff stood rigid, face pale under the fading light. The well yawned open, waiting. They came back inside without speaking. The door shut behind them, sealing the night out, but not the wait that followed. The niece's fist still clenched the button. The aunt's face was gray, hollow. The sheriff had peeled off toward town, boots striking like a warning with every step. The girl turned. "You knew." The aunt's voice broke. "I didn't." "You did. You knew all along." The aunt sank into the chair, hands trembling against her lap. "I tried to forget." "You buried it, same as him." Her aunt's eyes filled. "Don't. Say it." The aunt shook her head, rocking slightly. "I can't." The girl's jaw tightened. She paced the room, boards creaking beneath her steps. "You can. You just won't." Her aunt's hands moved suddenly, pushing at the warped floorboard under the chair. The sound of nails straining cut through the air. She pried it loose, breath ragged, and pulled out a folded piece of paper stained yellow with time. The niece froze. "What is that?" The aunt held it close, eyes wet. "It's all I have left." The girl stepped forward. "Give it here." "No." "Now." The aunt shook her head. "It's poison." The girl snatched it from her hands before she could stop her. She unfolded it quick, paper crackling. "Who's writing?" Her aunt's voice was a whisper. "His." The girl scanned the words. The ink was faded, shaky. "He said he was leaving." The aunt sobbed. "Not by choice." The girl read aloud. "They came at night. Said if I didn't follow, she'd pay for it. Said they'd take me where no one would dig." She lowered the page, eyes sharp. "He knew what was coming." The aunt pressed her hands to her face. "Stop reading." The girl's voice cut. "You knew this was here the whole time." The aunt's shoulders shook. "I wanted you safe." "Safe from what?" "From them." "Who?" The aunt shook her head. "Don't ask." "I'm asking." "No names." "You owe me." Her aunt's hands dropped. "I owe you nothing." The girl slammed the letter on the table beside the button. "You owe her. She begged for the truth, and you gave her silence. And look what it did." The aunt whispered, "Silence kept me alive." The girl leaned in, eyes burning. "And it killed her." The aunt's breath caught, tears streaking her face. The girl shoved the letter closer to her. "He wrote it with his own hand. He named what happened. You could have shown this to someone. You could have fought." "And lost," the aunt said. "You think anyone would have listened to me against them? You didn't even try." "I tried to keep a roof. I tried to keep you breathing. That was enough." The girl's voice was sharp. "It wasn't." The aunt clutched her chest, rocking again. "You don't understand what it was like. The whole town belonged to them, even the law, especially the law." The girl grabbed the letter again, waving it in her face. "Then this is proof. This is how you break them." The aunt's cry came low, guttural. "Proof don't matter if nobody cares. You'll end up in the dirt same as him." "Then I'll take them with me." The aunt's hands shot out, grabbing her wrist. "Number, don't you dare. Don't let them pull you under." The girl tore free, stuffing the letter against her chest, button pressed into her palm. "It's already too late." The aunt's sobs filled the room. "Don't walk out that door." The girl turned toward it, eyes set hard. "You had your chance. I'm taking mine." The aunt rose weakly, stumbling after her. "Please, if you love me." The girl spun. "If you loved her, you wouldn't have let him vanish." Her aunt froze, words dying in her throat. The girl opened the door, night air rushing in, cool and sharp. She looked back once, eyes hard, both letter and button clutched tight. "I'm not burying this." The aunt whispered through broken breath. "Then you'll be buried instead." The girl stepped out into the dark and slammed the door behind her. The aunt collapsed to the floor, hands pressed against her face, rocking, whispering the same words over and over. "I kept you safe. I kept you safe. I kept you safe." But the house shook faintly as if disagreeing. Boards groaned, dust spilling from the ceiling. Upstairs, a door creaked open on its own, slow and dragging. The aunt froze, eyes wide. She stared toward the stairs, body trembling, as a faint whisper carried down the hall like a man's voice, long gone. The barn loomed in the dark, its roof sagging, boards warped. The niece pushed the door open and stepped inside. Dust swirled in the lantern light. Men stood waiting, boots spread wide, badges dull but heavy on their chests. Their eyes tracked her every move. One spoke first. "You shouldn't be here." She didn't slow. "Neither should you." Another spat tobacco to the dirt. We came to warn you. I don't take warnings. You should. She stopped in the center of the barn, button clenched in her fist. Say what you came to say. The tallest of them stepped forward, arms crossed. Drop it. Leave the past where it belongs. She shook her head. No, it'll eat you alive. Maybe it should. The men exchanged glances. One laughed low. She's got her mother's mouth. Her jaw tightened. And her will. That mouth put her in the ground, the tallest man said. No. The niece shot back. You did. The barn went still. Dust drifted from the rafters. The man's eyes narrowed. Careful, girl. I'm done being careful. Another man stepped closer. You think that button proves anything? It's trash. Rusted junk. She lifted it high in her fist. Then why are you so afraid of it? His face hardened. We're not. Then why meet me here in the dark? Silence stretched. The smell of hay and oil filled the air. The tallest man spoke again. You want to live long? You'll shut your mouth. Forget the well. Forget him. Forget what you think you know. I don't think. I know. He stepped closer, so near she could smell whiskey on his breath. Say his name, and we'll make sure you join him. Her voice didn't shake. You already made sure of that. The aunt's words echoed in her memory. Silence keeps you alive. But she clenched the button harder, blood rising in her palm. I won't be quiet. One of the men muttered. She's got fire in her. The tallest man sneered. Then we'll put it out. He reached for her arm. She jerked back, eyes blazing. Don't touch me. You belong to this town same as the rest. No, she said. I belong to her. The barn filled with heavy breaths, anger pressing in like smoke before it forms. She spat the words out. You buried him. You silenced her. You'll try the same with me, but I've got what you don't. And what's that? The truth. Their laughter was sharp, bitter. Truth don't stand against a badge, one said. She shot back. Then you wear it wrong. The tallest man stepped close enough to tower over her. You're not walking out of here if you keep this up. Her hand tightened on the button until the edge cut her skin. She lifted her bleeding fist. Try me. The men stared, the silence between them breaking into a ripple of mutters. One reached into his coat, pulled a small box of matches, and struck one against the beam. The flame hissed alive, small but sharp. The girl's chest rose quick. What are you doing? The man grinned. Ending this talk. He tossed the match onto the hay. At first nothing, then a flicker, then a tongue of fire spreading fast. The girl stepped back. You're insane. The flames licked higher, catching dry wood, devouring fast. The barn filled with heat, crackling louder with every second. The men didn't move. They stood firm, eyes locked on her as smoke curled around their faces. The tallest said, Run. Her throat tightened. Why? Because you still can. The aunt's warning echoed in her head, but she turned, heart pounding, and ran. The fire chased her, heat biting her back. She burst through the barn doors into the night air. Smoke followed, thick and black, flames lighting the sky behind her. She clutched the button to her chest, blood dripping from her palm, legs driving her forward across the field. The barn roared behind her, timbers snapping, sparks flying into the dark. The men stayed inside, shadows swallowed by fire, their voices lost to the crackle and crash. She didn't stop running until the barn was only aglow against the horizon. The button burned in her hand, slick with blood and ash. The night sky burned orange behind her. The barn crackled and roared, flames snapping beams like bones. Smoke pushed across the field, thick and bitter. The niece stumbled forward, hand clutching the button, lungs raw from the heat. Footsteps pounded after her. She turned. Her aunt, hair wild, shawl slipping from her shoulders, face streaked with sweat and ash. Stop, the aunt cried. The girl didn't. Her aunt caught up, grabbed her arm. What did you do? The girl wrenched free. I didn't strike the match. You lit it by walking in there. The girl spun on her. You knew they'd come. You knew, and you let me go. The aunt's breath broke. I tried to keep you from it. You failed. Flames cracked louder, sparks flying into the air, ash drifting down like teeth torn loose. The aunt pressed her hands to her face. God forgive us. The girl's voice cut sharp. Don't call on God. Call on the truth. The aunt lowered her hands, eyes wet. The truth kills. So does silence. They stood in the field, smoke choking around them, their words hitting harder than the fire. The girl stepped closer. You lied to me my whole life. I protected you. You betrayed me. No, the ant said, voice shaking. I chose silence to survive. The girl's fist closed tighter around the button. Blood seeped from her palm again. And you call that living? Yes, the ant whispered, because I'm still here. And she isn't. The ant's body jolted as if struck. The girl pressed harder. You let them take him. You let them bury him. And when she cried out, you stayed quiet. The ant shook her head, sobbing. What could I have done? They owned everything. The fields, the law, the church, even the air felt theirs. You could have spoken and died for it. So what? At least you would have been honest. The ant stepped forward, tears cutting through soot. And left you alone? You were a child. You don't understand what it costs to fight men like them. The girl's eyes burned. I understand what it costs to stay quiet. The barn collapsed in a roar behind them, flames devouring the roof, sparks shooting high. Ash swirled around their faces. The ant gripped her niece's shoulders. I carried her silence because I couldn't carry her grave. The girl jerked back. And now I'm carrying both. The ant sobbed, shaking her head. No, you can't. I already am. You'll be swallowed. Then let me. Her aunt fell to her knees, fists digging into the dirt. Don't do this. The girl crouched, face hard, smoke glowing red in her eyes. I'm already doing it. The ant looked up, broken. They'll kill you. Then they'll have to try. The flames roared louder, a wall of sound behind them. Ash rained heavy, clinging to their hair, coating their skin. The ant whispered, You sound like her. The girl's voice cracked. Good. She begged me to fight, the ant said. I told her no. I told her to wait. And then one night she was gone. I've hated myself every day since. The girl's throat tightened, but she didn't falter. And now you want me to do the same. Yes, the ant cried, because I can't lose you too. You already lost me when you buried the truth. The ant sobbed, shaking her head over and over. The girl stood, staring down at her. You chose silence to survive. I choose noise to live. The ant looked up at her through tears. It'll break you. Maybe. But I'll break them first. The fire snapped and groaned. The last of the barn roof caved, sending sparks into the night sky like a storm of burning stars. The girl turned toward the glow, button pressed tight in her fist, smoke filling her lungs. She whispered to herself, steady and low, I won't stop. Her aunt crawled after her, coughing, face streaked with ash. Please, stay with me. Stay quiet. The girl didn't look back. I can't. Ash drifted down between them, white and gray, falling slow, like teeth shaken loose from an old jaw. The ant whispered once more, voice hoarse and cracked. Then we're both already dead. The girl walked into the smoke, the button still bleeding in her palm, the fire lighting her face as if marking her path. The church stood at the edge of the field, white paint peeled to bone, windows clouded with dust. Its door sagged, but it opened when the niece pushed. She stepped inside, smoke still clinging to her hair, the button tight in her hand. The ant followed, coughing, eyes red from ash. We shouldn't be here. The girl's voice was flat. Where else? The church smelled of mildew and old wood. Pews sat crooked, hymnals torn and damp. The altar leaned forward as though tired of standing. The ant whispered, This place is dead. Then it matches the rest. Their footsteps echoed on the warped floorboards. Light slipped through the broken windows, cutting pale lines across the dust. The girl turned on her aunt. Tell me the truth. The aunt lowered her gaze. I already have. You've told me pieces. I want it all. The aunt's voice cracked. It will ruin you. It already has. Silence hung. The girl stepped closer, her hand shaking, but firm around the button. Say it. The ant's eyes shimmered. He didn't leave. The girl's chest rose hard. Then what? He was taken. The words dropped heavy, heavier than the silence before them. The girl's throat tightened. By who? The ant shook her head. Don't make me say their names. You owe me. I owe you nothing but survival. You owe her. The ant winced as if struck. The girl's voice pressed harder. You let them take him. I tried to stop them. How? The ant's voice broke. By begging. And begging never mattered here. The girl stepped back, Button cutting her palm. "So you watched." Tears rolled down the aunt's face. "I closed my eyes." The girl's voice shook with fury. "That's the same thing." The aunt covered her face with her hands. "I couldn't fight them. You didn't even try." The aunt's sobs filled the church, raw and sharp. "You don't understand what power is. You don't understand what it does to women like us." "I do now." The aunt dropped her hands, eyes bloodshot. "Then you know why silence is the only weapon we have." The girl's jaw locked. "It's not a weapon. It's surrender." The aunt staggered back, her body trembling. The church bell above them groaned. Both froze, staring upward. The girl whispered, "Did you hear that?" The aunt nodded, lips parting. The bell swayed slow, wood beams creaking, though no rope pulled it. The sound filled the church, low and heavy, shaking dust loose from the rafters. The girl's breath caught. "No one touched it." The aunt whispered, "It's a warning." The girl shook her head. "It's him." The aunt cried, "Stop saying that." The girl stared at the ceiling, Button clutched tight. "He's not gone." The bell swung again, louder this time, echoing through the empty town. The aunt pressed her hands over her ears. "Please, don't listen." The girl whispered, voice steady through the noise. "He was taken, not gone. And I'll find out by who." The bell roared once more, the sound rolling through the church until the walls trembled. The girl didn't flinch. She kept her eyes fixed upward, the button burning in her fist. The church doors swung open to the night air. Smoke drifted low across the grass, faint remnants from the barn. The niece stepped into the churchyard, button clenched in her fist. The aunt followed, shawl pulled tight, her eyes shifting to the ground as though afraid to meet the stones. The graves stretched out in crooked lines, many without markers, dirt mounds sunken, grass grown thin. The air was heavy with silence. Bootsteps sounded behind them. The sheriff's voice cut across the yard. "You shouldn't be here." The aunt froze. The girl turned slow. "Neither should you." He stopped in the shadows of the church, his frame sharp against the dim light. "This place ain't for you." She took a step closer to the graves. "Then tell me who it is for." "For the forgotten," he said flat. "Like him." The sheriff's jaw flexed. "Turn back." "No." His boots crunched on gravel as he came nearer. "I said turn back." The aunt whispered, "Please, listen to him." The girl's eyes stayed fixed on the sheriff. "I won't." "You're digging at graves you can't fill," he warned. "And you're standing on bones you put there." The aunt's breath hitched, her hands shaking. The sheriff's voice dropped low. "You don't know what you're saying." "I know enough," the girl said. The silence stretched. The graves seemed to lean toward them, the air colder now. The aunt whispered, "Don't do this." The girl moved forward anyway, weaving between the unmarked stones. Her voice carried, "Tell me which one." "None of your concern." "It is." The sheriff's shadow stretched long behind him. "Go home." "This is my home." The aunt's knees bent slightly as though her body was ready to fold. "Child, stop." The girl ignored her. She stopped at a grave smaller than the rest, the soil uneven, caved in shallow. She crouched, palm brushing the dirt. "This one." The sheriff's face stiffened. "Walk away." She looked up at him. "Say it." His voice sharpened. "I'll say nothing. Because if you do, it's real." The aunt whispered, trembling, "Please." The girl pulled the button from her hand and held it out. The metal gleamed faint in the moonlight. "This belongs here." The sheriff took a step forward. "Don't you dare." She pressed the button into the soil, pushing it deep with her thumb. "He deserves more than dirt." The sheriff's boot struck the ground hard. "Enough!" The aunt cried out. "Stop!" The girl stood, face steady, ash still clinging to her hair. "It's too late." The sheriff's voice was like steel. "You'll regret this." She stepped toward him, unflinching. "Not as much as you will." The aunt staggered forward, standing between them at last. Her body trembled, but her voice broke through. "No more graves. No more silence." The sheriff stared at her, eyes narrow. "You finally found your tongue." She lifted her chin, tears streaking her face. "Better late than never." The yard went still, only the faint creak of the church bell in the distance carrying through the dark. The girl's voice was quiet, but sharp. He was taken, not gone. You made sure of that. But now he's remembered. The sheriff's face tightened, his shadow stretching over both of them. He didn't move, didn't speak. The aunt slipped her hand into her niece's, their grip tight, shaking but firm. Together they stood before the shallow grave, the button buried in the dirt, the silence pressing heavy as stone. The sheriff's voice cut the night sharp. I said enough. The niece stood firm by the grave, chin raised. You don't command me. His jaw tightened. You think you can stand against me? Against all that I am? I already am. The aunt whispered, please, don't. The sheriff stepped closer, his shadow covering them both. You want truth? I'll give you truth. He begged. He begged like a dog when we dragged him. The girl's chest rose hard. So you admit it. His face twisted. I admit nothing. I tell you what I want, and I want you silent. The aunt shoved herself between them, hands up. Stop this! He pushed her aside with one hand. She stumbled but caught herself, crying out. The girl's voice cracked. Don't touch her. Then close your mouth, he growled. No. His hand shot forward, grabbing her wrist. She twisted, the button scraping against his skin as she fought him. Let me go. The aunt rushed forward, striking his arm. Leave her! He swung back, catching the aunt across the face. She cried out, staggering into the dirt. The girl screamed, You coward! She clawed at his grip, nails cutting his flesh. He leaned close, breath hot. You'll end up just like her, deep and gone. The ground beneath them shuddered. They froze. The old well at the edge of the yard groaned, a long, hollow moan rising from its depths. The aunt whispered through tears, It's starting. The sheriff's grip loosened. He looked toward the well, eyes narrowing. What in God's name? Water surged up, black and thick, spilling over the rim, spreading across the dirt in a slow, creeping wave. The girl tore free, stumbling back. It's rejecting you. Shut your mouth, he shouted. The aunt clutched her cheek, voice trembling. The ground won't keep it anymore. The sheriff turned on her. It's nothing but water. The earth shook harder, cracks splitting through the graves. The shallow mound where the button had been pressed split open, soil shifting. The girl's eyes widened. Look! The button rose back to the surface, wet and glistening, as if pushed up by the ground itself. The aunt fell to her knees, sobbing. It won't stay buried. It never would. The girl bent down, hand trembling, and picked the button up again. She held it high. Proof. The sheriff's face twisted with rage. It's a trick. You planted it. You saw it, she said. He advanced, voice breaking. You think this changes anything? It changes everything. The water spilled further, soaking into the graves, turning dirt to mud. The headstones leaned, some collapsing. The air carried a smell of rust and rot. The aunt clutched her niece's arm, whispering fast, Run! The girl shook her head. Not yet. The sheriff's boots sank into the mud as he moved closer. I'll silence you myself. The girl's voice cut sharp. Try. He lunged. The aunt threw herself between them again, arms wide. No more blood! The sheriff shoved, but she held her ground, body shaking. If you want her, you go through me. He snarled. So be it. The ground buckled. All three staggered, clutching at the air. The well roared, water spilling higher, splashing across their boots. The girl shouted, It's him! The aunt cried, It's the earth! The sheriff's face went pale despite his rage. It's nothing but flood, but the button burned in the girl's fist, heat rising from it. She lifted it again. Number, it's him. The sheriff stared, breath ragged, mud rising to his knees. He growled, but his voice cracked. You don't know what you're doing. The girl's voice was steady. I do. The earth groaned again, graves collapsing one by one. Bones pushed through the mud, pale and broken, surfacing as if called. The aunt screamed, covering her eyes. No more. No more. The girl held the button higher. This is what you buried. This is what won't stay silent. The sheriff's face drained of color. His knees buckled as the ground shifted beneath him. Lies, he spat, but the words sounded hollow. The water surged one last time, covering the shallow grave, washing the button clean in her palm. The girl whispered, Truth. The sheriff's voice was a roar, but it trembled. You'll pay for this. The girl met his eyes. So will you. The ground stilled suddenly, the water slowing, the air heavy and damp. The button lay warm against her skin, shining, faint in the moonlight. The sheriff stood panting, mud up his legs, eyes wild. The ant knelt shaking, face streaked with tears. The girl held the button high between them, unbroken. Silence dropped over the yard, thick and final. The yard lay drowned in silence. Mud soaked their boots. Water spilled from the well in slow, steady waves. The graves sagged, bones half-surfaced, air thick with the stench of earth rejecting what it once held. The niece stood in the middle of it, arm lifted, the button gleaming wet in her fist. Her voice cracked, but it carried clear. "This is all that's left." The aunt's eyes filled. She staggered closer, hand trembling, reaching for her niece's fist. She didn't take the button. She took the hand holding it, pressing it between both of hers. Her voice steadied. "Then let it mean something." The girl's jaw tightened. "It already does." The sheriff stood across from them, chest heaving, mud streaked to his knees. His lips parted like he meant to speak, but no words came. The girl glared at him. "Say it." He shook his head. "Say it," she pressed, voice sharper. He tried, but his throat closed, the sound breaking into nothing. His eyes darted to the well, to the bones, to the button. His body trembled. The aunt's voice cut through. No more words from him. Not tonight. The girl turned, eyes narrowing. Then from who? The aunt squeezed her hand tighter. From us. The sheriff stumbled back, boots sinking deeper in the muck. He opened his mouth again, but nothing left him, only silence, choking him stronger than rope. The girl whispered, "He's finished." The aunt nodded, shoulders straightening. Yes. Water spilled higher, dark and foaming. It lapped at the graves, at the stones, at their ankles. The ground seemed to hum, rejecting every lie. The girl whispered, staring at the button. "He begged in the end. You heard him admit it." The aunt nodded again. "I heard." The girl's eyes hardened. "And you stayed quiet." Tears slid down the aunt's cheeks, but her voice no longer shook. "I chose silence then to survive. I choose silence now to end it." The girl's chest rose hard. What if silence isn't enough? Tonight it is. The sheriff took another step back, mud sucking at his boots, his face pale in the rising moonlight. The girl shouted at him, "You killed him!" Her voice cracked, but her aunt pulled her close, arms firm. "Don't give him another word. He deserves to hear it. He already knows." The sheriff's breathing grew ragged. His eyes were wide, but his body sagged. His authority slipped away with every drop of water rising at his feet. The aunt whispered, "Look at him. He's not power anymore. He's nothing." The girl stared, button shaking in her hand. "Then what do? We walk away." The girl's voice cut sharp. "That's what you always did." "Not this time." The girl met her eyes. Her aunt's face was streaked with ash, hair tangled, but her spine was straight, her grip firm. "You mean it?" "Yes." The water climbed higher, swirling around their shins, cold and heavy. The graves gurgled as if the earth itself was breathing. The girl raised the button once more. "He deserves a name." The aunt whispered, "He has one, even if no one dares speak it." "Say it then." The aunt shook her head, tears falling fresh. "Number saying it keeps him here. Silence lets him rest." The girl's hand trembled. "Silence feels like losing." "Not if you choose it." The sheriff's boots slipped in the muck. He fell to his knees, gasping, but no words left him. Only silence. The girl stared at him, then back to her aunt. "So that's it. We walk away." "Yes." The girl's chest heaved. She looked down at the button. Dirt and blood and water mixed across its surface. She closed her hand tight around it, then let her aunt cover her fist again. They stood together side by side, facing the well as it overflowed. The girl whispered, "And when people ask?" The aunt's voice steadied, quiet, but firm. "We give them nothing." The sheriff clawed at the mud, still choking on his own silence. The girl whispered, "He'll come after us." "No," the aunt said. "He already lost." The bell above the church swung once, deep and heavy, as if to mark the end. The girl looked toward the path leading away from the graves. "Then we leave him here." The aunt nodded. Together they turned. The sheriff stayed behind, swallowed by the yard, mud pulling him down, silence binding him tighter than chains. The women walked side by side through the grass, their steps slow but certain. Smoke hung faint in the air, but the night was cooling, the fire behind them dying. The girl held her aunt's hand. Between them, pressed tight, was the button. Neither spoke again. The silence was theirs now, not his. And in that silence, they found power. The churchyard sank back into silence. The graves no longer shifted. The well overflowed slow, carrying away every lie it once held. The sheriff's shadow vanished into mud, leaving nothing behind but absence. The women did not look back. They walked steady into the cooling night, hand in hand, the button pressed tight between them. For years, the town had demanded silence as obedience. Tonight, silence became choice, sharp and final. No words left their mouths, and none were needed. Power was no longer in the sheriff's badge or the earth's grave, but in their refusal to speak.